Judy.
Hello, Tom. We're starting out tonight in Argentina, where the government has relaxed its restrictions on buying foreign currency a day after the peso suffered its sharpest one-day fall in over a decade. The country is facing double-digit inflation, low economic growth, and dwindling foreign reserves, which are needed to meet debt payments and finance economic stimulus programs. Catherine Spencer has the details.
With reserves of US dollars running low, Argentina's central bank has stopped liquidating them to try to pop up the peso. But the suddenness of the government's decision has sent the value of the nation's currency plummeting. The peso's fallen 16% against the US dollar in just 2 days.
Until the government has a programme that is more consistent, these measures taken in an isolated manner can be the right ones in trying to regain lost competitiveness. But they end up being diluted because the inflationary process eats up everything that's been achieved with the recovery.
As the nation's currency goes into freefall, the government has eased restrictions on buying dollars. Argentinians will now be able to buy dollars for their personal savings accounts, and the tax rate on dollar purchases has been reduced. This should help tackle the thriving black market trade in foreign currencies triggered by the lack of access to dollars. Many people keep emergency supplies of dollars after the country's 2001-2002 financial crisis, when banks froze deposits, inflation soared to 41%, and the country defaulted on its international debts.
There is no economic security, no judicial oversight. Nobody knows where this is going. Everybody pulls back and waits, but by waiting, this economic situation implodes.
There are concerns that devaluing the peso could increase inflation, which already reached 28.4% last year, according to private sector estimates. But exporters have long called for devaluation to boost the competitiveness of their products like wheat, soybeans and beef.
Now, since those reforms were announced, we've heard from the Deputy Chief of the International Monetary Fund, who says the organization will be happy to help Argentina if needed. In South Africa, negotiations are underway to end a pay dispute between platinum mining firms and tens of thousands of striking workers. South Africa is the world's top producer of platinum, responsible for some 80% of global output. One firm said it was losing revenues of about $9 million a day because of the strike action. Workers who've been blocking roads and throwing stones are demanding better working conditions and double their minimum monthly wage.
It's about the demands of our members that were presented into these 3 giant companies. Hence, then the intervention of the state was to mediate or to facilitate this process. In their books, these companies, they've got trillions of rands. So now, why can't they pay these employees who build this mine?
Now, concerns about Argentina, as well as political troubles in other emerging markets, saw a major sell-off in emerging markets this Friday. Major losses across the board here in Europe. The CAC 40 here in Paris closing down about 2.8%. Germany's DAX down 2.5%. The FTSE in London down more than 1.5%. Right across the board on Wall Street as well. The Dow sliding over 200 points so far. All of the main indices are headed for steep weekly losses. Let's take a look at some of the day's other business headlines now. Minimum wages are not being paid at some 40% of garment factories in and around Dhaka. That's according to a manufacturers association in Bangladesh. The government raised the minimum wage for textile workers under heavy pressure in November, boosting salaries some 77% to $68 a month. Disappointing results for Samsung. Its net profits rose just 3.7% in the last 3 months of 2013, a sharp slowdown from the third quarter, which saw 25% growth. The South Korean firm warned that sales would likely remain weak in the first half of this year because of weak seasonal demand for products like smartphones, tablets, and televisions. And bigger than expected profits for Microsoft as its new Xbox games console boosted holiday sales. The world's largest software company said overall revenue rose 14% to $24.5 billion in the last quarter of 2013. There's still no word on who will take over as chief executive when Steve Ballmer steps down. The current CEO says he'll leave his post before August. I'll be back with some more business news for you later on in the evening. For now, it's back to you, Tom.
Thank you very much.